the last piece of this vest is the collar. Okay, and the collar is constructed in a similar fashion to the lapel in that we use pad stitching. Okay, this is the collar. Let's see if I can have you appreciate. Yeah, this is the collar. Okay, and it has a stand, which is right here. That has been done by hand. Okay, that pad stitching has been done by hand in the stand, the collar stand. The collar itself, I'm going to turn it around, has been done by machine. With all of this stitching, this collar is super duper strong, and no one can argue with that shape. These are the kind of techniques you'd want to use for Dracula collars, any kind of collar that really has to do some work. Some tailors, if the garment is not under that much pressure, will simply do the pad stitching in the stand, and that's it. And then they let the collar be the collar afterwards. It just depends on how much control you want. Okay. Essentially what happens is that the shaped collar, the hair canvas part, gets covered by the fashion one seam at a time, one side at a time, and then it's applied by hand to the garment, all of this by hand. That is traditional tailoring. I encourage you guys to try it in the mock-up, but if you're like, this is really too old school for me, by the time you get to your garment, you could do it by machine. But in that exercise of doing it by hand, the first thing you would do would be to pin those two roll lines, the roll line of the canvas and the roll line of the fashion, together. Okay, and so that's what I'm going to do. I'm just uniting this roll line with this roll line via pins. Okay, that's all I'm doing. Okay. And these pins just stay in there for your process. Some people at this point like to run a basting line. If you'd rather do that, that's fine, because you just need these guys to work together, stay together long enough for you to prep this collar. Okay. And you'll see everything's got its seam allowances at this point. Okay, we're going to start cutting those away in a minute. Okay, so here's the collar. You've got the fashion on the outside, you've got the working on the inside. Okay, and I should also mention that in tailored garments, the undercollar is almost always made of felt. Okay, almost always. It's kind of a telltale sign. If we look at this guy, this mock-up, you'll see it's a black felt underneath. There's a specialty felt made that you can get from tailoring supply places that is strictly collar felt, and it's super duper intense. But it can also work using felt from Joann's or some of those other places, or sometimes some of the flannel they got right now is as intense as felt, and you can use it. But why do you think it would be felt? Why do you think they would bother to do that? Well, because felt molds so much easier than anything else. And so it's nice to have that underneath to get that beautiful shape. It will tailor better than this will tailor, the felt will tailor better than the linen or whatever your fashion is. So it's nice to have it underneath. And here, that's what we have. Our undercollar is felt. Okay, so back to what we were doing. Okay, we have united the fashion and so upper collar and under collar together at the roll line. Now, we got to start taking care of some stuff. Okay, the first thing that I would take care of is this edge, the outer edge. Okay, and so I'm going to do something gangster, and I'm just going to cut off this whole thing, this whole seam line, just cutting it off. I don't even care. I'm cutting it off. Okay. Bye-bye. Okay. You use then your fashion to wrap it. But Carol, that is a raw edge. I know. And when you stitch it, you will stitch it in such a fashion, meaning that your stitches will be so tiny that it will take care of the raw. And this is muslin, so it does ravel. There's no getting around that. But your wool won't ravel quite so much, so it'll be easier. You've pinned it in place, okay? Then you're going to do a wrap stitch like that to close it. Then you do the same thing with your ends. Doo-doo, doo-doo. Then you've got this collar that's ready, and it goes to your vest. I would sew the outside first. Sew that line, sew the felt to the vest first, then sew, how can we see this? Let me take this off. Then you're going to sew the inside last. Okay. And that's what this is. So you've made the collar, it's all done. And then sew the felt to the vest first, that side first, flip it over, and then hem the inside by hand. Do it all by hand on your example. If you want to go to machine for your reel, that's fine, but just have the experience. Okay, you guys, use the mock-up exercises to your advantage. Learn everything on the mock-up. That's what this is. This was a mock-up a student did a few years back. He learned everything on here. He made all the mistakes here, so when he got to the vest, it was much, much easier. Don't skip the mock-up process, and don't beat yourself up if the mock-up's not beautiful. It's okay. That's the point. Practice on the mock-up. Okay, we're done.